back. Joining us on the show now is Jonathan Barratt of Probis Securities. Jonathan, hi. A difficult start of the week and almost everything from where we left it on Friday seems to be picking it up and selling it even more. I want to start with the crude oil prices. We're trading at an 8-month lows now. We're below 90. We're below 80 for WTI. It is oversold on charts, but where do you see it going?
Oh, I like that comment. It's oversold on charts, but you're a very brave person to try and buy it at this level. Obviously, US dollars are quite strong, but at the end of it, I think we are very running at thin capacity. I'm hoping that the capacity in the market should start to pick up, but I think the ability for the market to produce when it needs to is not there. But at the moment, the trend is certainly lower. The sentiment is certainly weaker. So I think prices can continue to trade lower from here.
You know, I was reading a report which suggested that, and this was an IEA report, I believe, it says that we are almost into a surplus now for this quarter. I mean, what does it really mean for the prices and how concerning should we be for the demand views going forward?
Well, I think generally when you look at where the price is now, when you think that there is a surplus on that, then the market's sort of starting to think that obviously we are sort of going to slip into that recession. And those recessions sort of obviously we see demand come off. As a result of that, I think you can see Brent crude oil probably trade down to that US $80 a barrel. But at the end of the day, I guess let's look at what happened when we had the last hurricane that came through or looked at it. It really didn't do much to the price. So I think the theme is still recession. And as a result of that, I think prices still remain quite weak. Supply side, when will demand side?
All right, that's a bad line, but you were making a very important point on where do we see the demand and the supply going forward. Well, yes, the crude oil prices have continued to decline. You know, the high of this year clearly has been at 139 from those kind of levels at 85 for Brent prices, and WTI has continued to decline. It's broken below 80 as well on the screens there. More than a percentage point of a decline coming in for crude, but crude is just one of the commodities which has seen a decline. We are looking at that kind of a sell-off across other commodities also. Take a look at the base metal prices. We've come off highs by nearly 25 to 35% for many of the metal prices. If you look at copper and zinc, we are trading at 2-month lows. Aluminum is trading at a 17-month lows. Jonathan, I was making a point about a sell-off that has continued in metal space as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of weakness there. And when you look at it, it's obviously a lot of strong dollar, but also demand, particularly when you look at copper, quite interesting. That is under a lot of pressure, even though we have inventories quite low in a lot of the warehouses. So that to me is a worrying sign. I think the metal markets can flip around quite quickly to be bullish again. So I don't mind actually looking at the weakness, particularly in copper, particularly in aluminium as well. But copper, I think if we do get a good dip and a good bounce, that's something to look for. Remember, warehouses, supplies are low. And if there is a little bit of a flip round, then this market could have some legs on it.
All right, so metals could be a buy pretty soon. How are you also looking at the gold and silver prices? Because very sharp decline there. And what's your sense now on the dollar index? We've done 114. I mean, from 110, 111 to 114 has been really quick. But from here, what's your sense?
I think when I look at gold and silver, look, still under a lot of pressure, but it has had a large move to the downside. It is all US dollar related. There's no doubt about it. So naturally, as you've sort of looked at the US dollar, you know, where does that dollar index go from here? And I think that to me is the concern. How far can it go? The interesting thing there is on the balance of payments in the States, doesn't seem to be too much of a dent. So I think the US are quite happy to see that US dollar remain relatively well bid. And as a result of that, our precious metals are going to come under pressure. But I think at the end of the day, once we get a turnaround in that US dollar or a little bit of rhetoric, which I do expect to come from the Fed at some stage, that the US dollar is too strong, then we'll get a turnaround. But at the moment, whilst the dollar is where it is, I think you'll find precious metals will remain under pressure.
Precious metals to continue to remain under pressure. Jonathan, Manisha, thanks a lot for joining in.